Every week we select a game to take a closer look at and break down in this spot. This week, one of the best games of the weekend, one of the most exciting games of the weekend, the game that I hoped Saints-Bucks was going to be. Nope. It was Dolphins-Cardinals, 34-31, exciting game, pitting Kyler Murray against Tua Tagovailoa. Let's get right to it. We break it down into various categories to provide the framework for discussing the game. Best player on the field that day, Charean, who do you have?
Well, I think it has to be one of the quarterbacks, Mike. And I went with Tua simply because quarterbacks are judged on wins and losses. And he won the game, and he's 2-0 despite his ugliness of his first start. He looked much better in this game, 20 of 28, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the key thing, Mike, no turnovers. Kyler Murray had the big fumble that led to a defensive touchdown. And the other big play he had was on 3rd and 1 with 1:05 left. He did the quarterback sneak for a first down, and they were able to take knees and run out the clock. He had 7 rushes for 35 yards. I just thought he was very impressive in his second start. That's what I expected in his first start. We didn't see it. Maybe it was nerves, whatever. Maybe it was playing that Rams defense, whatever the case. He looked much better in this game and played a heck of a game, and is a big reason the Dolphins have a lot of hope, not only for this season, but for the future.
Yeah, and he seemed to get better as the game went on. He settled in. He was more confident. They trusted him more. And when it was time to try to go win the game in the fourth quarter, he did it. First, he had to tie the game up with a touchdown drive that made it 31-all, and then he put the Dolphins in position for the game-winning field goal. Tua was awesome. Now, does it mean he's the guy for the next 15 years? Not necessarily, because the injury issue is still there. When he fractured the hip last year, one of the first things the general manager said to me is, look, 3 years at Alabama, 3 lower body injuries, that is a concern for a quarterback who has and who uses mobility. So let's keep our fingers crossed that he can stay healthy. But he has looked very good in his second start. The first start was an incomplete. The second start was an A+. Got the win on the road against a good Cardinals team. And for me, it's the other quarterback. One of my favorite players right now in the NFL, Kyler Murray. The guy is incredible. They incorporated a lot more in the way of designed runs this week. That's a point Chris Sims made earlier today on PFT Live, and the film bears that out. Just get him the ball and let him go. He knows how to avoid contact. Now, he was a little more aggressive running the football, and he did get popped a few times. But for the most part, he's smart about avoiding taking the kind of hit that could potentially get him injured. He had a beautiful throw to Christian Kirk for a touchdown. Just everything about him is fascinating. He throws it well. He runs it even better. And, you know, he arguably did everything he could to put the Cardinals in position to either win the game or force overtime. And we'll talk more about some of the things that kept that game from being even more compelling than it could have been. But it wasn't Kyler's fault. He didn't make some huge mistake that caused the Cardinals to lose the game. He did everything in his power to will that team to victory.
Yeah, I would say the one play, obviously, which maybe it wasn't his fault, but the one hit he took early in the game, the fumble that was returned for a touchdown, probably ended up being the difference in the game. But, you know, he usually gets away from those, and I was surprised that they were able to track him down, because they usually don't track him down like that and make him lose the ball. And the Dolphins for the most part, did a really good job. I know he had over 100 yards rushing, but they made some big plays on defense too, and that was one of them. And they just seemed to keep coming up with those big plays on defense.
See, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because, yes, that's on him to a certain extent. But when it's 31-24 in the fourth quarter, the Cardinals are winning, that's ancient history. Down the stretch, when it mattered, the opportunities they had, that's when I think he did everything in his power, and there were others who maybe let the Cardinals down and kept Kyler Murray from being Kyler Murray and allowing the Cardinals either to force overtime or to win the game. All right, someone who was better than you thought before you took a closer look at the game, Charean.
Well, you know, Jason Sanders doesn't usually come to mind when we start talking about the best kickers in football, but this is a guy who just set a franchise record, 20 field goals in a row, 17 this season, 3 obviously last season, so he's on a big streak now, and they were not easy kicks. He had a 56-yarder and a 50-yarder, and the 50-yarder ended up being the game winner. And you look at what Zane Gonzalez did or didn't do for the Cardinals. He missed a 49-yarder short that really cost them a tie game and a chance to go to overtime. And he was just terrific. And I think that when we start talking about the best kickers in football, we need to put his name right there.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Look, what matters is making the kicks that win games, and he did that. And that's the clutchest moment that you can imagine on a field for a kicker, and he delivered. I'm going with Emmanuel Ogbah. He had two plays that really stood out. We've already talked about the forced fumble. I mean, anytime you can hit Kyler Murray and cause him to lose the football, that's a good day. You could just walk off at that point. But then he tipped a pass later, and he's just a guy who's on the rise for the Miami Dolphins, a guy who was with the Browns, and he lost out in a numbers battle once they had Myles Garrett, and they picked up Olivier Vernon, and they really didn't need Ogbah anymore, and the Dolphins said, fine, we'll take him. And I think they're grooming him into a potentially special player, but that's a guy who stood out to me watching the game again, especially with those moments in the first half, Charean.
Yeah, and when they signed him in the offseason, Mike, they gave him 2 years and $15 million, I think guaranteed $7.5 million. I thought, what are they doing? That's too much for this guy. But he's been everything they thought he was going to be. Career-high 7 sacks, career-high 3 forced fumbles. He's been really good for this defense and really a difference maker for them this season.
Yes, okay. Who had a day that they would like to forget after your further and closer inspection of the game, Charean?
Well, Mike, in retrospect, I think Xavier Howard did a really good job on DeAndre Hopkins, and I think it was a reason that DeAndre Hopkins did not have a huge day. But I know that Xavier Howard likes playing better than what he played, and he had those pass interference penalties. He had 3 of them. One of them was an offsetting penalty, and one of them I thought was kind of ticky-tack. He definitely had one of the 3, but I know that he likes playing better than that, and I know those penalties really bother him, but he did do a pretty darn good job on DeAndre Hopkins. I think they said 13 of 15 first-half routes he was on DeAndre Hopkins, and they really held DeAndre Hopkins down, which I think was a key to this game.
Yeah, I am going to go with Andy Isabella, the Cardinals receiver, for 2 things in particular that were squeezed in at the end of the first half and the start of the second half. At the end of the first half, when the Cardinals were trying to maybe get in range for a field goal, and who knows whether or not they would or wouldn't have, there was about a minute left. He catches the pass, and he clearly has the first down, and he goes backward and retreats and gives up the yardage, 4th down, and they punt, and the Dolphins drive down and get a field goal. That's a potential 6-point swing if the Cardinals would have kept that drive going. At a minimum, it's a 3-point swing by giving them the ball back, and that was just a boneheaded effort by, these guys who are fast. They always think their speed is, number 1, going to get them out of any jam, and number 2, it's an excuse to go backward because that 1 step back is going to open it up for 10 steps forward, and it's just unfortunate. And then he had a fumble on the opening kickoff of the second half that originally I thought the Dolphins recovered. I know some of the Dolphins players did. That would have been a disaster. And you get lucky when one of your teammates ends up getting the ball at the bottom of the scrum, but you got to hold on to the football. That could have been game over. That could have been lights out for the Cardinals a lot earlier than it would have been if the Dolphins would have gotten the ball there, Charean.
Yeah, and I saw that play, Mike, and I'm like, oh, the Dolphins got this game. This game could be over here if they go punch this in, and he did. He just got lucky on that play. You've got to hold on to the ball. We know turnovers are a big factor in games, and you definitely can't fumble the opening kickoff of the second half. So he got really lucky. A teammate got in the bottom of that scrum and somehow came up with the ball because I don't think they originally had it.
Okay, give me a play that stands out to you that you want to focus on a little bit more.
Yeah, there were 5:20 left in the game, Mike, and the Cardinals had 4th and 1. And 4 plays before that, they had a 4th and 1, and Kyler Murray picked it up on a run, right? They hadn't stopped him all day. They were 2 for 2 at that point on 4th down. You think they're in the same formation, which I hate shotgun on 4th and any kind of short situation. I hate the shotgun, but that's what he does. He does every play out of the shotgun. I get it. So I'm fine with that. But the fact that you hand the ball to Chase Edmonds, who had no chance to pick up the first down, why aren't you trusting Kyler Murray at that point to pick up the first down? He'd done it twice for you earlier. Keep the ball in Kyler Murray's hands. Let him run around. He's going to make a play, and more than likely, he's going to make the first down.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the reason why they didn't give it to Murray was because he got hit hard the play before, and you rarely see that happen. That may have freaked out Cliff Kingsbury. I hate that shotgun formation run, though, 3rd and short. I don't know why they won't line up Kyler Murray under center unless literally he would be under center because he's so short. But you have to give the running back a chance to get it. And when you're starting flat-footed when you get the ball, you don't have the same head of steam when you bang into the line when you need just a few inches. The play that I first want to mention briefly, the decision to kick the field goal on 4th and 1 late when Zane Gonzalez comes short on a 49-yarder. Who's short on a 49-yarder? I don't know why they kicked the field goal. But beyond that, nowadays it used to be a big deal to make a 49-yarder back when they kicked straight on. Now a 49-yarder may as well be a 35-yarder. And it's amazing that thing fell short. The one other play that I want everybody to go back and take a look at, because I'm trying to figure out what really happened here. Preston Williams, when he scores his touchdown, he jumps up, he celebrates. Next thing you know, he's limping on the sideline. He's carted off. There's speculation that it was something that occurred during the celebration. But watch Jalen Thompson, number 34 of the Cardinals. He kind of does the Tristan Hill, Chris Carson barrel roll. Charean, I don't know if you had a chance to look at that. But there was one extra roll that was a little too much, and maybe it didn't register with Preston Williams that his ankle had gotten twisted. But I suggest everyone, we got to take a break, but go look at that if you have NFL Game Pass, because it looked like it was a little too much from Thompson, and maybe that contributed to the injury to Preston Williams.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.